Today's episode of the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is brought to you by Fluor. We're building a better world. Welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report, your one-stop source for all the latest news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program. Now, here's your host, Michael Butler.
Hello and welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report. Today is Monday, July 24th, 2023. We're covering all the news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program across the country. We thank our friends at Fluor for being presenting sponsor for today's episode. We've all heard the stories of family members working together in the same place, and we've heard not all of those experiences are good. Think about the family dynamics in hit TV shows like Succession, Yellowstone, The Sopranos, and going back a ways, Dallas. Or even this more lighthearted on-the-job experience captured on the comedy hit Mama's Family.
Give one of those Slim Jims a try. The hell you will. If you're not going to order from me, you will not order from him. Now you listen up, you cheeseheads. All of my life, all I have ever done is give to my family. And what do I get back in return? The one time I want to do something for myself. I want to take a little trip to Hollywood. They're going to turn me like sexy. But you listen to me, you ungrateful dipsticks. This time you have gone too far. Thelma Harper is going to Hawaii, and as far as I'm concerned, you can go choke on your eggs in a blanket because nothing is stopping me now. What?
You're fired.
We're devoting today's episode to families who work together in the Department of Energy's Environmental Cleanup Program. We'll talk with family members at various DOE sites and get a firsthand look at their experience in working together. Spoiler alert, the news is good. Each of these families is thriving in the workplace and highly recommends family members working together in environmental cleanup. In some cases, family leaders are encouraging development of the next generation of EM workers, helping to meet one of the department's top workforce development priorities. Here's Natalie Borman, an intern at Washington River Protection Solutions, the tank operations contractor at Hanford. Her dad, Dieter Borman, is a communications specialist at Central Plateau Cleanup Company. Can Natalie see herself becoming a full-time career employee at Hanford?
Yeah, I could definitely see myself being out there for, the foreseeable future. There is a lot of opportunity out there, especially because so many people are retiring or will be retiring soon. So they do have a lot of positions that they need people to step up for. So I'm definitely looking to probably stay out there with Hanford for at least the early part of my career.
We'll have more about environmental cleanup as a family affair after this from Fluor. Now we'd like for you to meet the Sieber family. The Siebers are three brothers and one son or nephew who all work for UCOR, DOE's cleanup contractor in Oak Ridge. Meet the brothers, Richard, Kevin, and Chris's son, Cody.
Meet the Sieber family, three brothers and a son working as members of the UCOR team.
Well, just being able to, contact somebody if you need to, no problem. You can go see them if you need to. Work allows it and everything.
The Sieber family doesn't let the time at work together get in the way of the quality family time off the clock.
We gather up for, Kevin still has a kid in sports. Cody likes to fish. Richard and myself have grandkids. We'll gather up for a ball game or holidays, have a cookout.
The family members have their own unique hobbies, like Cody Sieber, who is a competitive fisherman and has brought in not only big fish, but big checks as well. For the others,
I got a live-in grandson, so it's my new hobby. That takes up all my time.
Yeah, I've got a couple grandkids and hunting and fishing.
Very cool. And you got the ones in sports, right?
Yeah, and I'm an assistant baseball coach for the middle school at Oliver Springs and football. And I'm also a reserve officer for the Oliver Springs Police Department.
For this family, they couldn't be happier working on the reservation.
If you can be fortunate enough to have immediate family work out here, then they're going to be in a safe work environment. And also, it's a family-oriented company, which is just beneficial in several ways.
The Sieber family takes safety seriously both on and off the clock.
They put it first. They really emphasize safety, and at least once a week we have a big safety meeting about a new topic, whether it be vehicles or just slips and trips, stuff like that.
And it has trickled down to bringing it home with you. You think a little different.
Next, we're off to Hanford, Washington to catch up with Dieter Borman and his daughter, Natalie. You met them earlier in the podcast when Natalie, who's now an intern, discussed her interest in permanent career at Hanford. Here's more with Dieter and Natalie. Well, we're talking now with two people from the Hanford site in Washington State, a father and a daughter, Dieter Borman and Natalie Borman. And hello, Dieter and Natalie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Michael. Good to be here.
Thanks.
Well, we're glad to have you both here. And we're having a very interesting conversation today about family members who work together in the EM cleanup program around the country. And we're glad to get out to Hanford to talk to both of you today. Dieter, let's start with you. I want to find out, first of all, what both of you do at the Hanford site. I'm in full disclosure, I know Dieter and I'm familiar with his work at Hanford, but in the communications group. But tell us what you do, Dieter, on a day-to-day basis.
Sure, Michael. Yeah, I support Hanford Communications. Right now I'm with the federal contractor Central Plateau Cleanup Company. And, in a nutshell, I help tell Hanford's story about the environmental cleanup mission that we're embarking on and the progress and challenges of that. And there's a number of internal and external audiences that are very interested in how that cleanup is going. And so I get to tell that story in various ways through writing and social media and other means. So never a dull moment at Hanford.
Exactly. And how long have you been with the communications group there?
I started out here in 2010 with actually doing communications with the Washington Department of Ecology, Hanford State Regulator. And that was my introduction to Hanford Communications. And I worked with them for about 6 years and then have worked in various capacities at the federal contracting side of communications for the last, since 2016.
And I think you work closely with our good friend, Rob Roxburgh there. We've known Rob a long time. He's also a consummate communications professional, and he's a good friend of this podcast as well.
Very much so, yeah. Rob runs the ship here at CPCCO Communications.
Yeah, well, you have a good manager and coworker there. And now Natalie, and next to you, Dieter, is your lovely daughter, Natalie Borman. Natalie, tell us about you. You're not with the Central Plateau. You're in another company at Hanford, and tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm currently an intern at Washington River Protection Solutions. So they're the contractor that's kind of in charge of managing the tank farms out at Hanford. So I'm interning in their kind of central radiological control department. So I work around a lot of health physicists and radiological engineers, and I've learned a lot from them.
Well, I'm sure you have. The WRPS, of course, is responsible for cleanup of the tank waste at Hanford. And at one point in time, there was 56 million gallons of waste in 150 or so tanks. And it's a big job and it's a hazardous job. And they need people like what you do in the health physics and radiological control area. And I'm sure you are learning a lot there. But let's talk about what it's like for a father and daughter to work together at the same site. What led you first, Dieter? Let's talk with you. What led you to start working at Hanford? How did you become interested in being a Hanford employee?
I'm not originally from this area. I moved here to the Tri-Cities, which is the towns of Richland, Kennewick, and Pasco, closest to the Hanford site, to work at a local newspaper out of college, actually, and worked there for about 15 years. And obviously, the paper covered Hanford very closely. And so I learned about the site through my work at the newspaper. And in 2010, 2010, newspapers were struggling, and it was time to start, looking for my next adventure. And I had an opportunity to apply for the position at the Washington Department of Ecology. And that was my welcome to Hanford moment, after kind of getting introduced to it through the newspaper. So that's how I kind of fell upon employment out here.
And Natalie, for you, was this kind of a natural thing? Seeing your dad go to work at Hanford every day, is it kind of a natural place for you to look, or what made you interested?
Yeah, well, I definitely first got exposed to it because my dad was working out here, so I always kind of knew about it. But the main reason that I pursued an internship out here was because I'm going to school to get my bachelor's in health physics, and part of the requirement for the degree is having some internship experience working in some sort of radiological context. So that's what really got me looking for a job out here, and that's how I ended up with the WRPS.
And tell us again where you're going to school.
Columbia Basin College right now, so it's in Pasco.
Right, exactly. Okay, I'm familiar with that. Dieter, you were with the Department of Ecology, so you got an introduction kind of that way, but then you became full-time on the site. What did you think when you first started working at Hanford? I'm sure you'd heard about it and probably written about it over time, but when you got on site and actually became involved as an insider, how did you feel about that, working at this large nuclear facility with all the hazards that exist there? Were you overwhelmed, or did you have any misgivings or concerns when you first came on site as an employee?
Yeah, well, you're right. It's such a complex site. I realized how much, even though I had read about it for many years, how much I didn't know about it. I was really fascinated by the history of Hanford. I think that's what kind of hooked me. It's got such a rich and long history through operations and production before we even got to the cleanup, and so it was really interesting to learn more about that, and then kind of delve into the cleanup process, which has evolved a lot over the last 30 years since we started in 1989. Obviously, like a lot of the nuclear cleanup sites and other industries, Hanford has a language all its own. So kind of getting familiar with all the acronyms and alphabet soup out here was a steep learning curve.
I'm sure. Natalie, you work in one of the most important areas. Of course, all of us think communications is the most important, but you work in a very important area in the health and safety aspect. You were probably thrown right in the middle of that in your internship. What were your feelings when you first came to the Hanford site in terms of the surroundings and the environment and the safety of the site?
Yeah, I never really had any concerns about the safety out at Hanford. I've grown up close by my whole life, and it was, never an issue, never something that the public or anyone had to worry about. So I didn't have any real misgivings going out to work out there. So yeah, I feel safe going to work out there, even though we are in close proximity to the tanks and to a lot of the legacy waste. It really doesn't pose a threat to just like your general worker.
You're both in different companies and work in different physical locations on the site. Do you ever have an opportunity to interact with each other during the workday?
Not a lot. I did go out and visit her at her office when she first started. I work in town, and like you said, she works out on the site in the 200 East area. And as you alluded to too, it's such a huge site, almost 600 square miles, and that's just the Hanford side, not including the folks who work in town. So yeah, we're about 20 miles. I think our offices are about 20 miles apart, or a 30-minute drive. So
Yeah.
Unfortunately don't get a lot of day-to-day interaction.
Well, that's understandable. For people who may not be familiar with the Hanford site, it is a large, a very sprawling site, and it's almost like driving into another state. You can cross a lot of territory and still be on the Hanford site. So I understand what you're saying there. Do you feel like there are any advantages, or do you talk about work when you're away from the office? Do you talk about what's going on at the site, or is that kind of off limits and you don't deal with it when you're with each other informally?
Yeah, I think we do. I mean, there's some news stories that have been recent news stories with contract transitions and things like that, and so we can kind of speak the same language, or now she understands kind of what she's reading, and where other family members' eyes glaze over if I try to say, "Oh, did you see this?" and they're like, "Oh, I'm not even sure what that says." So it is kind of fun to kind of be able to be on the same page as far as that's concerned.
How about you, Natalie? Are you getting used to all the acronyms that are out there?
I'm still learning, definitely, but I definitely feel more confident about them than I did the first couple months that I was out working. Yeah, like you said earlier, it really does sound like people are speaking a different language, and there's so many different acronyms to learn that it takes a while for it to all sink in, but I'm doing better now.
Well, how do you like your experience so far? How's it been for you?
It's been a really good experience. Honestly, when I first went out there, I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I've definitely just kind of tried to be open to learning a lot, and just hearing people talk about what's going on out there and the work they're doing. It's been a good experience so far. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I've been able to see some of the stuff that I've learned in school, like have a practical application out in the field, see how people are using those kind of things. So it's been really interesting.
Well, you and your colleagues, coworkers in the intern program are kind of the prizes that EM is trying to attract these days, because there's a big effort underway on a national level to prepare the next workforce, the next generation of workers for the cleanup program. And I know in the case of Hanford, it varies across the country, but in the case of Hanford, there's 50 or 60 years of work left to do there to finish the cleanup of that site. And that's a whole generation plus of workers that are going to be needed. And right now, I think EM is concerned and has a priority to attract people like you, people your age, and with your interest in the program to become a permanent part of the workforce. Is that something that you can see yourself doing? Can you see yourself becoming a permanent part of the Hanford workforce in the years ahead?
Yeah, I could definitely see myself being out there for, the foreseeable future. There is a lot of opportunity out there, especially because so many people are retiring or will be retiring soon. So they do have a lot of positions that they need people to step up for. So I'm definitely looking to probably stay out there with Hanford for at least the early part of my career.
Tell me what it's like with the Borman family away from work when you're through for the day or through for the week and it's time for the weekend. What do you guys like to do as a family? How do you spend your time? And Natalie, are you still living at home, or you got a different place? And what about your siblings? I understand you've got 3 brothers. Is everybody still around the house, or how do you guys interact as a family when you're away from work?
Yeah, whole family is still at home, so we like to do a lot of stuff together. We're kind of big on outdoors, so we enjoy camping and backpacking, and we're all really into pickleball right now too, so that's fun to do together.
I think the whole world's into pickleball right now. So that's good. That is a fun thing. Dieter, what about you as the dad in the group? What's it like having the family together away from work and you and your daughter who have so much to share from the common Hanford experience?
Yeah, it's great. A lot of recreational activities around Tri-Cities with the three rivers here. So we're always out and about, and the kids range between our youngest is 10 and Natalie is 20. So we have four kids in between 10 and 20. So everyone's always going different directions, but we do find a lot of time to do things together around town and around the Northwest.
Do you see any downside at all to working together at the same site?
Boy,
Yeah, not that I can really think of. I mean, it might be different if we were for the same company and like overlapped more, but as it is, yeah, I enjoy working kind of generally just at Hanford with my dad. It's nice to have somebody who you can talk to about stuff that's going on, who understands the Hanford lingo and everything.
So you would recommend it? You would say working together as you are there as two family members is a good thing?
yeah, certainly it's fun. It's been fun, and I think my employment here may have at least led Natalie to look at Hanford, but certainly there's a lot of opportunities out here for young people, as we just discussed, and so as I mentioned, I have two boys, 19 and 17. If they stay in the area, certainly would suggest that they at least consider the site as well, and not only the jobs range are such a broad range of jobs from engineering and other technical fields to crafts and trades and welding and carpentry and firefighting, and so a lot of opportunities out here.
Well, I think that's a real good message for us to end on today. And I want to thank you both again, Dieter and Natalie, for taking time to be with us. And we appreciate you being on the podcast.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's great being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we head to the Savannah River site in South Carolina, where we'll meet a mother, Kathy Torres, and her son, Matt. They both work in radiological protection, Kathy at the Defense Waste Processing Facility, and Matt in the SRS tank farms. We're discussing the advantages of family members working together. What do you see as an advantage or advantages of having a family member at work at the same site where you are? Are there any advantages there?
I mean, and I would even argue that I have a better advantage because we're actually in the same department. She's done some of the similar jobs. She's got 32 years of experience out here. So, you know, carpooling or dinner or whatever it is, it may be work talk as opposed to, catching up this and that. But, I can lean on her experience and then, well, how would you handle this situation? Or, this is what we were doing today. This is kind of what we ran into, oh, well, this is, hey, try this, or, did you do this? So, I feel like I got an ace in the hole here.
What about, let's look at the other side of the coin. What about disadvantages? Is there anything that maybe is unusual or that you think twice about with having a family member close by like that?
Uh, Disadvantages, not necessarily. I try and stay on the do right program here, but I will say when I first got hired, you were in a sense treated a little different as far as, well, mom, she has a great reputation out here. You ask anybody, they just swear up and down about her. And so just kind of having to fight that, well, that's Kathy's son.
Mhm.
No, I'm Matt. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna bust my behind and create a name for myself, and show you that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but I'm not getting any special privileges or being treated different just because, she's been out here 32 years in the position that she's in. Um, so I kind of, and it didn't take long for that to kind of wear or me to put that to rest. But when I first got hired, maybe a little bit of that.
So it was important to establish yourself as your own person.
Hmm. Yep, yep. And that wasn't everybody. That for sure, I would say that would be the minority. I think the majority of folks, if anything, they were like, "Hey, you know, let me know if you have anything, any questions. Look out for you." So, like I said, I would say that would be a very, very small minority, and maybe even more so my just what I perceived as far as I didn't want anybody to cut me any slack or do that for me. I wanted it to be earned because of me.
Kathy, what about you? Do you have any comments about advantages or disadvantages?
Um, you know what? Well, advantage. It's nice to be able to have somebody that does understand. The how big it is out here. Just to be able to relate to some of what we experience out here. So that is nice. It was really different when Matthew started working out here. It was strange seeing my one of my kids out here, but it really the advantages. I can't even really think of any disadvantages. Kind of like Matthew said, he had to come out and earn his spot, and just I've just stayed out of his way and stayed out of his lane or any, there. But no, it's been very enjoyable having him out here.
Great. Or do you know of other family members who work together at SRS?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So there are
honestly,
others that are in the same situation, a parent and a child, or maybe brothers. Do you cross paths with them on a regular basis?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I can think of one of the guys. Him and mom have worked together for years. And now his daughter both of his daughters are out here in rad protection. And I think it's just kind of ironic, that him and mom 30 some years ago worked together, and now him and his daughter, or me and his daughters, are out here kind of as the second generation. But there are quite a few. um, we've gone through a lot of hiring here in the last couple years, and there have been a lot of siblings or sons, daughters that have been hired on to in this new wave of this new generation.
hmm We actually in our department over here we have two sisters that work together. In fact, for the longest time I thought they were twins, but they they are not. But they work really well together, and but are working out of the same office. And I think you've got over there in the tank farm too. There were two siblings working out of the same office as well over there, weren't there?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. There
Mhm.
are some brother and sister duos and brother duos. So
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
the cleanup work at all the DOE sites has really turned into be something of a family affair. We're seeing that all across the complex that this work has provided good jobs for individuals and for their family members. I'm going to ask you this question. I think I know the answer to it, but I want you to tell me. Would you recommend that family members work together at the same place, like Savannah River Site?
I would. It may not work for every family, but certainly does for many. And yeah, it's. I think it is. It has worked for many. Works for us.
What about you, Matt? Do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a good idea. It's in our like I said, our site. We're both out here, but it's very rare that we see each other during the day. We may carpool in and carpool out together, but during the day, we may not see each other. So, I think it's a great opportunity. Even if you are in the same facility, it's a great opportunity for the individuals to have a great career.
We'll have more after this from Floor. We close today's episode with a visit to Portsmouth, Ohio, where we will meet the Osborne brothers. These brothers, Rick, Randy, David, and Rick's son, AJ, all work together at the Portsmouth site. You'll hear them refer to being UMH workers. That means they are uranium material handlers. Let's meet the Osbornes. We're talking with the brothers Osborne today in Piketon, Ohio. And these guys are not to be confused with the country music singers. They have quite a different career, and that's what we want to discuss today. First of all, let's go around and have each of you introduce yourself. Let's start with Rick Osborne. Rick, introduce yourself, say what you do, and let's go down the line here.
Thank you, Mike. Just appreciate you having us on right now. And yeah, I'm Rick Osborne. Been here about 33 years now. Started out in process. I was in the process operation, but now I'm a uranium material handler and working for others. Been doing it for some time now. It's a really joy to do that. And that's about it right now for me. And turn it over to Randy.
Yeah, I'm Randy Osborne. I'm also a UMHer. Been here since 2010 and glad to be here.
We're glad to have you.
And my name is David Osborne. I'm the middle of the three of us here, brothers. I've been here about 30 years. And I'm a UMHer, and I originally got hired in as a process operator, same as Rick and Randy. We all got hired in as process operators originally. So we're just happy to be here. It's been a good life and good job. And it's a good environment for us because it's been good to us over the years.
And who's the young fellow on the other end there?
I'm AJ Osborne. I hired in the summer of 2012. I'm the son of Rick here. And these my uncles, Randy, Dave.
I'm glad you met that.
But yeah, I work in industrial hygiene and safety. I've been doing it ever since. Started out with a company called Producer, doing the event project on the Hunter building. And in 2016, I actually moved down to the facility with these guys in nuclear operations, and I'm glad that I was able to make that transition there. So that's pretty much all I have.
Well, we're glad to have you guys here today.
Can I say some of the other operators we work with over when AJ first got hired in, they called him Rickson.
Yeah, Rick.
And I go, Rickson, hey.
Well, Rick and Dave, Randy, AJ, thank you for joining us on the podcast. What we want to take a look at today, you guys are your brothers and your father and son and your family members. I want to ask you about what it's like to work together as a family at a DOE facility. So can you tell me, you guys have been doing this for a long time. Tell me what it's like to be a family working in this environment.
Well, started out before we even started working here, working together, started back in a little farm about 1967 here in Pike County. And we started working together as young, small children because we had farmland and we raised crops, and we had to work together then just to get our work done and to get what we needed to get done. And working here made it pretty easy once we transitioned here to our adult life. We know what each other is going to do, and we trust each other. We got each other's back, and working with each other it's pretty much a joy to work with your family. And some family members may not say that, but in our case, it's been really good over the years. You guys want to comment on that?
Well, actually, as you look as the crow flies, we grew up, this farm that we grew up on was only about, 5 miles from here. So we actually knew the plant all our lives, so basically, and we all, when we first got out of high school, we all had plans. Let's try to get a job there, but it didn't work out quite as well as we hoped, but we eventually got here.
Well, we expected, but we made it. We landed here. We've got our roots in here now, so we're making the best of it. We hope to continue on for many years to come.
Well, you certainly do have your roots there. What did you know about the Portsmouth site when you were before you joined the team there? Did you have an opinion about it, or what did you know about it at the time before you became employees?
Well, really, we didn't know a lot about it because we didn't really have any family members, or there were people we became acquainted with worked out here, but as kids, really didn't even, you didn't know the questions asked, what you did and all this other stuff. Now, our parents might have had a little bit of, questioning about what we did out here and how safe it was for the community and everything like that. But as far as ourselves, no, we really didn't. We didn't know that much about it before we come out here.
A little bit more to add to that. Our father, during construction out here, did some construction work out here when it was originally built. So, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't know what we were going to do out here eventually, but he did do work on the construction part of the plant. So we have more into this than what we're just us. So. And we also had an older brother that was a UMH. He's now retired, but he worked out here too. So there was even more of us.
And what was his name?
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah.
So there's a fourth Osborne brother who's been a part of the plant there. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he was the first one of his Osborne boys to be hired in, and we just followed his footsteps. And
yeah,
here we are.
Yeah, when you refer to UMH as what you do, you're talking about uranium material handler, right?
Yes.
Tell our viewers what a uranium material handler is. What do you do?
Well, it's actually a variety of jobs. We do some shipping, we do receiving. We actually have what we call autoclave.
So you mentioned UMH as what you do. That's uranium material handler, right?
Correct.
And what is a uranium material handler? What do you do?
Well, it's a variety of jobs. Actually, we do some shipping. We do some receiving of cylinders. We have what you call autoclaves, which we actually transfer this material from thin walls to thick walls. You guys want to add any?
It's pretty self-explanatory what we do. Uranium material handler. Anything we have to do with cylinder that has uranium in it, we do that. Like I said, we transfer, we heat, we do everything we can with the material. We're responsible for moving it from one place to another. It's a pretty busy job a lot of the time.
Okay. And AJ, as an industrial hygiene specialist, I think people are more familiar with that maybe, but talk a little bit about what your job is, okay?
I'm here just to make sure these guys are doing their job safely, and we're recommending the right controls to do all this because this what these guys are doing here, it can potentially become dangerous. One wrong move, one valve not turned or something like that, it could be a dangerous situation. And these guys, they're pretty attentive to what they're doing. They're careful and really, I'm lucky that these guys, they don't make it. So,
mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah. You've got all these family members working at the plant there. What does your mother think about that? Was she concerned about all of you going to work at a nuclear facility?
God bless her mother. She's been passed for 4 years now. Just like May the 6th, and she lived to be 91. So we, like Randy said, we just lived about 5 miles as the crow flies from here. And there were some things that she didn't really say that much, anything bad about anything. And like I said before, she just wanted us to become responsible adults to go out and get a job and be productive in not just here, but in our community and our life. And I think we've succeeded in doing that.
Well, you certainly have. How has the site changed over the years? A couple of you have been there over 30 years now. How is the site different from when you came there?
I think these two have to speak to that.
It's changed. Well, it's changed quite a bit because, we were full production plant when we was operating, So, being UMHers, we transferred and everything, the product and everything we received from the production line, when we produced it. So whatever the process did, it was brought over to us and the cylinders and stuff like that, and what we're doing, everything.
Yeah, when we first got hired in, me and Dave ourselves, we were production process operators. So we were in the big old buildings here. We started mainly our time in the 33 building, which was a 33-acre building, and it had huge equipment in there, and it processed, enriched the uranium as it went down the cascade.
Mm-hmm.
And we pulled off the products at all the withdrawal stations. That's what we did in the beginning. But later on in life, when they started shutting down, we went from a production plant to now you probably haven't been here, but we're doing D&D, which is demolition here, and tearing it down basically.
Right.
And so it's been a big change over the years. And, it'd be great if we could, we could do something to help to preserve a lot of this to where not only AJ, my son, could have a job here for years to come, but his son and their grandkids, because around here, this is as good as it gets. And we want to keep it that way.
Absolutely. Are you able to interact with each other on the job? Are you close enough physically where you can see each other during the day?
We actually work together. We go in the autoclaves, we do it as a team, and these two and me go in as a team. So you can't work any closer than what we do.
Yeah, we're working side by side and almost holding each other's hands.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of closeness for an 8 or 10 hour shift, isn't it?
It is. So you better get along with your family if you're going to do that.
Absolutely. What about away from the site? When you get home, do you still spend time together on weekends, or you like to go your separate ways, or what happens?
Well, you're not going to believe this, but we actually are in a few weeks going on vacation together in Myrtle Beach. So I guess we can't get enough of each other, or we're all nuts, one or the other.
We're like that vitamin one a day. We got to have each other. We got to be with each other every day.
Well, these Osborns like each other, I think.
I see a lot of them on the weekends. I'm in the process of kind of remodeling a home, so these guys, they're kind enough to help me out quite often. So I get to see them on the weekends.
He gets a dose of us too. So
yeah.
Well, it just sounds like a great family, and is there who has the best job there? Who do you think has the best job of the 3 or 4 of you?
Well, to be honest with you, we're pretty blessed. We all got pretty good jobs. I said, I don't think there's one job better than any other job because we do a lot of different jobs. We just do it together, but we are just so blessed to be here, to have the job that we got. You can't say much more about it, really. So you guys want to have some input on it, go ahead.
No, we basically do the same jobs. We all know each other's jobs. Usually with us three, we're going to say we have specific jobs we do, but we can interchange if we, get tired of it or something. But, we all do basically the same.
And safety is a big factor here. Because we live this close to here. We want the environment around here, our job as safely as we can, possibly can.
Because nobody likes you like you. So be safe,
And we like our family. So
plus it makes my job easier.
Exactly.
Absolutely. There you go. What do other people think about all the Osborns being on the workplace there, and your coworkers? How do they view you as this family or these brothers working together?
We're afraid to ask. No. Well, they call us the O team.
Yeah, they call it the O team. So
The O team.
some people call us the A team, and someone calls the O team, and we're not going to say what someone calls.
I think we have pretty positive.
Yeah, our co-workers, I think they look up to us because we have been around longer than a lot of them. We have more knowledge only because we've been on the job a lot longer. So they looked up to us and they asked us for information, how to do this. So it's pretty positive atmosphere, attitude that the other employees have.
Yeah. Are you aware of other family members that work at the site there, kind of like y'all? Are there other brothers or fathers and sons that you know of that work there?
I think there are. I don't know if there's as many as us, like the three of us and the son, but there are some maybe two tandems.
There's some fathers and sons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had another Osborne spelled his name the same way as us. Not related to us, but he actually worked with us. Wouldn't that have been interesting to have him too?
Yeah.
So
that must have been hard for him, huh?
well,
it was.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you recommend that family members, particularly brothers, work together at the same place? You think that's a good idea?
I think it is.
I think it's good.
I mean, it's worked out well for us, and there's no negative. I haven't seen one negative at all. Now, if it had been working with your wife, it might have been different. But as far as the brothers, it's good.
Well, the one thing I see is, like every job we do, whether it's with brothers or other coworkers, you have to work well together as a team. And the one thing these guys do well is work together as a team. And, they're there to have each other's back. And, they've been, like he said earlier, they grew up together. They had no choice but to have each other's back. And, that kind of carried into, real life. And I've kind of fed off that, and learned to be a better team player. And these guys here, they're knowledgeable about what they do. And, if me being in safety, I'm asking questions all the time, and they're there to kind of guide me as well. So, nice work.
AJ, do you have siblings? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother and an older sister. Neither one of them work here, but it's.
Are you trying to recruit them? Do you want them to work there?
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, my sister's a school teacher, so I don't see it in her future to be working here. And my brother, he's into the landscaping deal, so.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see it in his future to work here either, or his desire. So.
Well, Rick and Dave, going back a few years, when you first got to the Portsmouth plant, of course you were familiar with it on the outside, and your father had worked on construction. But how was it for you coming in there initially, coming into a nuclear site and getting used to everything? And did you feel overwhelmed, or did you have any misgivings or concerns when you first started working there?
Well, when we first started working, when we came in, it was totally different. It was out of our realm of what to expect. Nuclear facility. You hear all these horror stories about what happened years ago, but when we came out here, it was kind of overwhelming in the beginning, especially these guys that come up with the concept of how to enrich uranium through this process were geniuses. They were just head and shoulders above everybody else, because the first time that we ever was introduced to the process buildings was, how do they make this work? How do they get it to work? It's unbelievable how it works. And it was kind of overwhelming. And then as you went through training, we went through 50 weeks of training just to be qualified to do the job we did in process. And you learned a lot through that training. So it became started to understand it more as time went on. But yeah, it was pretty overwhelming at the time.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Dave?
Oh my, you're just, like you say, overwhelming, especially when you walked in the big process building, 33 building, and seen the size of that equipment. I mean, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Big this equipment is. You never dreamed anything, That's the size of it. And then you got to think, man, I'm going to be able to learn all this stuff. There's so many, so many systems you had to learn, I mean, from heating, ventilation to electrical part to, every part there, the sanitary water, the air system. There's so many systems that you had to know and learn. And you thought, man, I don't know if I'll be able to learn this, but over the time you can't. But it's like, even though you're trained for 50 weeks, you're still just a pup.
You're asking a lot of questions.
It takes 5 years plus to be a good operator.
So there's no substitute for experience, right?
There isn't. No.
Well, what would you recommend this as a career? I know the environmental management group in DOE right now. They're got a push on. We had an episode on this in our podcast. They've got a push on to hire more people because there's still a lot of cleanup work left to do at these nuclear facilities around the country. What would you say to people who might be considering a career with a DOE contractor in working in these cleanup operations?
I think you'd be a good. I think the career path I chose it's definitely a good field. It can be challenging at times, but it's like anything else. You learn something, you do something. Get the whether it's regulations you got to become familiar with, or maintain compliance in the workplace, or whatever it may be. It can definitely be challenging, but yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
And with the DOE facilities, it's ever changing, so you got to adapt all the time, because what might be right today may not be right tomorrow. So you got to have that willingness to adapt to the situations and the regulations and whatever DOE passes down.
Well, very good. Well, Rick, Dave, Randy, and AJ Osborne's, I want to thank you for joining us on the podcast today and sharing your experience as family members at the Portsmouth site, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Today's episode of the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is brought to you by Fluor. We're building a better world.